Hello, everyone. This is the Faithful Life Podcast. I'm Matt Jacobson of FaithfulMan.com.
And I'm Lisa Jacobson of Club31Women.com. We're so glad you're here with us.
At Faithful Life, we explore what it means to be a biblical Christian in today's world, in our marriage, parenting, church, and culture.
It's real, raw, and relevant.
So let's get started. So what kind of a friend are you to your spouse, to your husband, to your wife? Would they, if asked and there was no downside to the honest answer, would they say, hey, I've got a great relationship with my spouse. She or he is my closest friend, and we're just walking forward together in perfect unity. Would you say that? I mean, there are some out there who can say that, and God bless you. You're providing an example for many. But what we have found in many, many marriages, they, over the course of time, kind of devolve into this functional, static state of let's just get the job done. Let's just keep the wheels on the wagon, but not really finding that close, personal, wonderful relationship with each other.
I think part of the challenge, as I've thought about this, is that when you get married, you sort of assume that you're going to be friends, that should be built into your marriage. And not really mindful that just like any friendship that I have, outside of our marriage, it's a friendship that I've pursued, that I've invested in, that I've given grace and poured myself into and tried to draw closer to that friendship. And so all those things that I do in my friendships with my girlfriends, I can forget that it takes a lot of those same things to be friends with your husband.
I think a lot of people just walking down the aisle, the farthest thing from their mind is that they wouldn't be close with their spouse a month, a year, 5 years into the marriage. And so it's one of those things that I think catches a lot of people by surprise when they wake up years down the road and look at their marriage. They go, wow, we've grown apart. We haven't grown together.
And you know what I think the neat thing about this, though, is that you can feel so far away from your spouse, kind of that maybe over months, maybe even over years. And yet, this is the hopeful thing, is it's often actually not that far away as you feel like it is. And that there's some simple, really doable things actually that can develop that friendship that you've been missing.
Right. I mean, if you've cultivated this separate life and you've grown apart, it can feel pretty black. It can feel pretty bleak. But I liken it to a couple standing on either side of a canyon wall, and they're looking down into the abyss, and it goes on forever. And it is just the farther down you go, the blacker it looks.
Right, it feels deep.
It feels deep, and it feels impossible. But when you step back and really take stock of the reality of the situation, they're not really. It's a canyon that's 1 foot apart. You're right; it goes down forever, but you can step across it. You're not that far apart, even though it feels like it's some insurmountable or impossible distance to bridge. So what we want to talk about is how you can get there, how you can get across the canyon, how you can get close. And again, God bless you if you're one of those couples that has a great marriage, that is an example to others, showing the way of what is possible. And it's so true that a great marriage and close friendship isn't something that just happens. It's something that has to be cultivated. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And we really want, in this matter of friendship, to get to that oneness that we're called, that we're described as in the Word of God, being one together. So what we thought we might do is just have a discussion about various practical steps that we can take, things we can do to help us grow as one. And so the first one we talked about, as we were just thinking of this topic, was have a conversation. Purpose to sit down with your spouse and have a conversation about this topic. And it's a very encouraging thing to have somebody approach you with a positive, what can I do for you, as opposed to, hey, you don't measure up. So one's accusational and the other one is inviting a discussion.
Yeah, I think that makes a huge difference. And oftentimes, if you're feeling distance from your spouse and you go to him, speaking to the wives, and the first thing he's going to be is on the defensive because he's maybe anticipating that you're just letting him know there's another way he's not measuring up.
Well, have you ever accused your spouse before? And he or she, but like often he, is running for cover because he feels like, okay, how did I screw up this time? What, it's still, it's not wrong again. It's just still wrong.
I found it's been really helpful for me when I'm communicating with you that when I come to you with a hey, there's something I'd like to talk to you about. I just want to grow in this area. I want to be a better friend to you. Is there a time this evening that after the kids are in bed that you and I could sit down and talk about that? And you could just let me know some ways that I could be a better friend to you.
So, and that is disarming. Like if somebody
Yes.
comes to you, your spouse, this person that you're spending the rest of your life with, and says, I want to know how to be a better friend to you. And of course, that's going to engender the discussion coming back the other way in most cases, not all certainly, but most. And so that's what we want to encourage, a conversation. Take the initiative to have a conversation and find a spot where you're not going to be interrupted. Find a time when if you have children, they're not going to be part of the discussion. You're just going to be able to focus on each other. Have the conversation, pursue your spouse, and ask, how can I be a better friend to you?
And this is a dramatic difference in this conversation as opposed to, I don't feel like you've been a good friend to me, or I don't think we have a good friendship. And the positive of, hey, I want a better friendship. What can I do?
Yeah.
And-
No, that's totally powerful and a much more effective way of
Yep.
moving that endeavor down the road. So have the conversation. All right. And I think what we're going to find as we go on in this conversation, many of these things are just so practical and so, in some senses, obvious. But you know what? That's the way marriage can be. Something that would have such a massive impact can be so easily missed, even though it's so simple to do. And so that's actually going to be a lot of what we're talking about today, the practical, easy things we can do to draw near to each other.
Yep. So another way we can cultivate that friendship is by spending time together.
Well, aren't we together all the time?
Well-
I mean, right? I mean, a lot of couples feel that way. We spend a ton of time together.
So, but what I think, even if you are spending a lot of time together, maybe your schedules do allow for that on the weekends, in the evenings. In our case, you work outside the home, inside the home. So we have lots of opportunities to be together. But we can get lost in the business of life. So what started off, let's say we get married, we hopefully start off as friends, and then we start having kids, we have to pay the bills, we have to worry about situations at work and maybe at church and ministry, and it's become a business relationship rather than a friendship. So it's a different kind of spending time together.
Yeah. So what we're really talking about is thinking about the time that you spend together as a different category. And so when was the last time? So I'm going to ask the guys, when was the last time that you actually, the guys and the girls,
Yeah.
when was the last time that you took your bride away and just said, I want to be with you. I don't have another agenda. We're not running errands. We're not jumping in the car, dealing with, the tire. You got to get new tires. Winter's coming on. Got to buy a set of chains. Got to go get some groceries. Got to stop at the drink. We set aside all of the business of life. And when was the last time you just said, hey, I want to spend time with you. I want to be with you for no other reason than that. I love you and I love being with you. When was the last time that happened? I asked a group of guys here recently, and these are godly Christian men. And it was interesting. They, to a person, they all said in one way or another, you know what? It's been a long, long time. I want to tell a story on myself here, because guys we can convince ourselves that, hey, we've covered this ground, I mean, so for instance, Lisa came to me, this is years ago, and I remember you came to me and you said, so I just have a question. And she didn't start with daggers. She didn't pull out the long knives and say, let's have at it. She just came to me and said, I have a question. When was the last time you and I went out on a date? And I'm thinking, well, we go out all the time. I'm not kidding. That's exactly what I thought.
True story.
Yeah. I'm sitting there going, okay, you've got to be kidding me, because I feel like I said, well, yeah, I mean, we just went out, right? I mean, what was it? She goes, well, when was it? I'm interested to know. When do you think we went out? And I said, well, like what, a week and a half ago, maybe. And she goes, no. I said, 2 weeks? She goes, no. And I'm going, oh, come on, we went out. She pulls out the calendar. We hadn't been out I forget, what, a month and a half?
Oh, yeah, maybe even 2 months.
Maybe even
It'd
2
have been a
months.
while.
And I'm not kidding. I'm running around with the idea that, hey, we've already done this. You know, we've checked that box. And that, of course, is the wrong way to think that, hey, I checked a box. But she asked me then, when was the last time that we had sex?
Oh, you really are going to tell the whole story.
And I said, last night? You know, and she goes, right. And so how many times did we miss coming together over the course of the last 2 months? And I'm going, well, like never.
Yeah.
Okay. And she goes, well, see, how would you feel if I said, well, the last time we got together was, you know, yeah, we got together all the time. And you said to me, sorry, I got lost in my own story. You said to me, the last time we got together was 2 months ago.
Right.
And would I be happy about that? No, I'd be like, hey, what's going on here?
Right. Yeah. And I admit it took all my self-control to keep it calm because that's not necessarily my natural tendency. And I did really, truly want to have a productive conversation that led to understanding. And I know that if I get upset, if I start accusing, it rarely goes well. And so this conversation did go well, and it did end up coming to a deeper understanding of each other and changing some things that.
And a lot of times the reason we guys think, hey, we're good, we went out, is because our wife isn't flaming out on us, right? And she's just a good soldier, and she's just there, and she's available to, and our needs are being met, and everything's great. And that's why we tend maybe sometimes not to remember that, you know what, it has been a while. So when was the last time you guys just took your wife out and said, it's about you and me, baby. We're going to go out. We're going to spend time together because I love you and I want to be with you. Spend time together. That is one of the ways that you cultivate a wonderful marriage and a wonderful friendship.
Another way to cultivate friendship is
this one's really deep, I think, right?
Okay, ready? This is super profound. Be nice to him. And I say that I actually, in all seriousness, because I've just noticed the way I am with I don't know how you, but the way I am with my girlfriends, I'm just, oh no, after you. And oh, you look so nice today. And oh, I just appreciate you. And that's the tone I use. That's the sincerity I demonstrate. And, but with your husband or your spouse, you sometimes just forget to be nice to the other person, and you start snipping at them, or you kind of drop the politeness. And those are things.
Do you remember that time I was kind of sad in the mall? We were sitting there, right?
Yeah, that was a talk about a aha moment. So Matt and I went out to lunch at a local little restaurant inside a mall, and we were talking, and mostly I think I was sort of dumping on you, but
I think it's when we were living in Nashville.
Yes. Yeah. And you were listening to me, and then a girlfriend of mine walked by, happened to be in the mall, saw us sitting there eating. And so I saw her like, oh, Susan. I jumped up and I smiled and we hugged, and how are you? And just all the nice things that you do when you see a friend. And then she left, and I walked back to the table, and you said,
you know something, I would sure appreciate it if you'd be that happy and sparkly to be with me.
And I literally didn't say anything for several seconds, just thinking about what he just said. And I could see the hurt in his face. He wasn't mad. He was just sad about that. And the contrast between how I was with my friend and how I was with my own husband was dramatic. And I realized at that very day, I got to change this, and I need to be friendly and kind and nice.
So we need to ask ourselves, how come we have it for our friends, but we don't have it for our spouse? So it's that little taking each other for granted thing that we've just really got to watch out for. Mm-hmm. So as simple as it is, be nice to him. Mm-hmm. It is actually profound. So another thing we can do is we can take the average, easy, normal moments of our day, and we can just do something simple, something nice for each other. Okay, so here's an example in our marriage. I mean, how hard is this? So if Lisa makes me a cup of coffee, she knows something. I like coffee that is blistering hot and takes the first couple layers of skin off your tongue. Okay, I mean, I just really like hot coffee.
That's his thing.
Right? And I enjoy it if it's super hot. And you know what I really enjoy is somebody saying, I love you in the simplest of ways. And in this case, it's heating my cup up with boiling hot water before the coffee goes in. All right. Now you think, well, how simple is that? And frankly, at some level, a bit of a, is that really necessary? It's not. When we think of something it's not. But it's not about the warmed up cup to me, because that's how I do my own when I'm making my own. What it is I just hear, I love you. And that's it. And there are so many things like that in the daily life of a married couple. Simple, easy things that we can just do for each other.
Talking about coffee, actually, Matt's been making my coffee every morning for me for about 26 years. So he knows I'm not a morning person. And for a long time, which is another story, he tried to make me into a morning person.
Okay, we'll have to tell that, because that is really bad. Oh my goodness, I've made a couple of mistakes along the way. We'll tell about that one of these times.
Okay, so but he will make a pot of French press coffee. He puts it on a tray. He puts it on with each have our own cup and the sugar and cream that I take, and that's how we start each morning. And it's a beautiful love offering, and it's just being thoughtful, and it's been one of those little secrets to our friendship and our marriage over the years.
Yeah. And so you're going to have 100 things in your day that will be meaningful to your wife or your husband, but just try to think of something you can do that's nice. Just a simple, kind act to do every day. And it's the way friends interact. They're thoughtful toward each other that way. And so, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say the next thing is that we can do to cultivate friendship is just choose to be interested in what the other person is interested in.
Okay, sure.
So, for example, I have, as far as girlfriends go, I have a friend, Nisa. She's an amazing quilter, and I don't sew anything. I'm not a seamstress in any way, but she makes these beautiful things and pieces of work. And I'll ask her, I want to see what she's doing. I want to see the progress she's made. And it's not my thing, but I'm interested in it because she's interested in it. And if we think of it that way, in that kind of friendship, same thing goes for husband and wife friendship.
Yeah, just choose to be interested in what the other person is interested in. And so you'll sit there and I love ancient and megalithic architecture. It's fascinating to me.
It's fascinating to some people.
Lisa will sit there and listen to me drone on about the latest thing that I've discovered or read about, and it's just her way of saying I love you. I'm interested in what you're interested in, and that goes both ways for us. And I don't know that we've ever either been reading a book and the other person would say, "Hey, what are you reading?" Not because we're nosy, but we just like to know. What are you interested in?
Sometimes I've had people ask me, well, do you and your husband read the same books? And you must, is that how you do it? And, I said, no, we actually don't necessarily read the same books. Occasionally, but not all the time. In fact, not even maybe often, because we do have maybe different interests that we're going to pick up. But a way of sharing those interests is you'll say, hey, I just saw you smiling when you're reading your book. What were you reading? And I'll read an excerpt to him, and vice versa. So we share what we're reading or interested in. It doesn't mean the other person has to be fully engaged and read the book or have the same hobby or all the different things that people are interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we did early on in our marriage is we just decided to be extremely cautious about taking on life endeavors that excluded the other person.
That's right.
And so there were even some things that we dropped out of that we had been doing because we thought, you know what, this will literally lead down the road to living separate lives.
Yeah.
Now, the fact of the matter is there are people in certain professions that they don't get to be with their spouses a lot of the time. And an example of that would be our wonderful military men and women who are out there just offering their service for the country, and in many cases the family is at home and they're away. So this isn't something that applies, as an exact one-to-one correlation in every situation. But try to think of your life together down the road, and the decisions that you're making today and the endeavors that you choose to focus on. Are these things that are going to take you away from each other, or are they going to bring you together? And so, but the general principle is just be interested in what the other person is good at, their gifts, their concerns, their interests. Just purpose to do that. That's what we do with our friends. Just, we were talking a minute ago about friends that we have outside of the marriage, and we're interested in those things. I've got a friend, Kurt. He's an agronomist, a professional agriculture expert, and top guy in his field in the region that he serves. And you know what? He's forgotten more about agriculture than I'll ever know, right? But I am interested in his job. I'm interested in how he's my friend. I want to know and I want to understand. That's what we need. That's the perspective that we need to have with our spouse as we're growing in friendship. Now, every one of us loves compliments, right? I certainly do.
Yes.
I know that you do, right?
Yes.
Take the time to think about an aspect of your spouse's personality, character, or something that they've done, and just compliment them about that. Something that you appreciate, something that you value that they do. Look at all of the things that just happen on a natural basis in any marriage. And I'm thinking of things even as mundane as, well, you drove the kids to their different sports practices or music lessons, or that takes time. It takes endeavor. And you're breaking up your day like that. It's actually hard to focus on anything else. It's literally a gift to the family for whichever spouse is doing that. Acknowledging that. In our marriage, I early on, I will tell this story one of these days too, but early on, I wanted to just help around the house. I want to be one of those guys that wasn't above the housework, right?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't let me go near the laundry. And you just say, no, you've got better things to do. I'm going to do the laundry. And so to this day, she doesn't let me touch it. I'm willing, but
I've got a thing about laundry.
That's not a place where...
My place.
But you know what would be terrible in our marriage is if, having taken that approach and just say, hey, no, this is what I'm going to do, and I think you've got better things to do than this. If I then had the attitude of, yeah, she does the laundry. That's her thing, how greatly that would sap the joy out of that love offering.
Yeah. No, that's true.
That is coming my way by saying, no, let me handle this. And so that's the way it was, it has been for years and years and years in our marriage. And she always handled that. But I have then said, you know what? I really appreciate that. When was the last time you told your spouse that you appreciated one of the mundane things that life brings at you all the time? Thank you for doing that. Thank you for being there. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for sacrificing. It's a heart of gratitude that these comments come from. And oh, how we love people to be grateful for what we do.
And I think sometimes, at least for me, I think it and I feel it. I just sometimes forget to say it. So like not that long ago, I was talking with some girlfriends, and we were talking about, my husband's a pastor, so we were talking about the message he had given on Sunday, and we were discussing how profound it was and how certain things he had said really convicted us. And as I was talking, by the end of this conversation, I realized, I've not even told Matt that how much this meant to me and how it personally really ministered to me. And when I did go over a couple days later and tell you that, you seem to, I don't know, just light up, because I had
it was awesome.
I
love the fact that there was something there that was of value and that you said it. And that business of actually being grateful in our spirits but not saying it, that's very common, actually. And of course, our spouses are not mind readers. All right. Lisa's not a mind reader. I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what she's thinking. And so let's just remember, all gratitude that is not expressed is meaningless.
Yeah.
It's literally meaningless. Only gratitude that is expressed is meaningless. So find something in the day to be grateful for. This is a tremendously powerful habit to get into. And it just starts that upward relationship cycle, and it builds. These things build on each other. So find something to praise, to be thankful for, and to be grateful for in your spouse.
Well, the last thing we were going to talk about is sort of the icing on the cake, and that is just having fun together. And I think it's another thing that that can get lost in that. Like I said, the business of
life will suck all of the fun out of every day if you let it.
Yeah, and I know that we find ourselves burdened with the needs of our kids and things we're having to work on, the stuff that's falling apart around our house, and the dentist bill and all the things. And so, and after a while, we forget that we used to have fun together, and we want to make sure that we're enjoying each other and the life and love that God gave us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things I do is, I want the guy's perspective on this deal here.
No.
Because I feel that, and this is kind of an important issue, so I hope you're listening closely. I feel that there are just too many pillows in the world.
Okay, ladies, is there such thing as too many pillows? We're going to see who.
So we've got roughly 4 billion pillows on our bed. I lost count, but they procreate in there.
I think they're like 23. They have babies. It's not that bad.
Far too many. Maybe. 23. Far too many pillows.
Some of them are really little. So. But okay, so what? Matt's got this thing about my pillows that he makes fun of. And he's always the first one to go.
We were going to buy an island off the coast of Tahiti, but it turns out that all the money went into pillows. Anyway.
It's such a worthwhile cause because it makes me happy. So, but Matt's always the first one to get into bed at night because I have to go through all my whole little routine of getting ready, and he just jumps into bed. So he waits there for me, and because we try to go to bed about the same time together. And when I come out to get ready to climb into bed, I'm tired and I just want to crawl in. And inevitably, he'll start, that game at the fair where they're like throwing stuff at the prize. So he'll start throwing pillows at me all the way, and I have to jump.
That's right. I'm throwing pillows at the prize. I want to win.
So I'll dodge pillows.
Hey, you're coming to bed.
Great. So it'll turn into a bit of a pillow fight. Not every night, but often. This is sort of the game.
What else should you do with pillows? Throw them at your wife. But yeah, so have fun together. And, but you got to be careful about the fun that you kind of come up with. So
yes,
I had this really fun idea. This was early. I think it was our first year marriage. I've not done this since because I've grown and I've matured and I've learned. But anyway, so I thought, hey, Lisa's in the shower, and in the closet, there was this giant pile of towels that had just come out of the laundry, and they were all clean but hadn't been folded yet. And I thought, I'm going to crawl under there. And when she comes in out of the shower and she reaches down for a towel, I'm going to reach up with my hand and grab her hand. Won't that be funny?
Yeah.
And I thought that was really hilarious. But, I actually wound up going to the audiologist for cochlear implants to remedy the problem with my ears. But anyway, so she screamed bloody murder. She was so mad. She was so furious. It kind of took me a while to get her off that ledge. So
it was not funny. It was not funny.
So anyway, don't grab your naked wife's hand from under the pillow or under the towels.
I haven't even watched horror movies, and it still had the same effect.
But totally have fun together, right? That's part of cultivating friendship in your marriage. And again, friendship is something that you have to cultivate, no matter who it's with. But certainly we want to do that in our marriages with our spouses. We want to cultivate that friendship because we want to go through life close and enjoying each other's company. And so now some of you might need a little help with that. And so Lisa and I wrote a couple of books. It's called 100 Ways to Love Your Wife, 100 Ways to Love Your Husband. And they are literally filled with each of them 100 ways to change your thinking or specific things to do to cultivate that kind of friendship with and love with your spouse. And so if you wanted to check those books out, actually they've done really super well. We're really excited about it. They've sold 250,000 copies so far. And so I'm just saying that because we're really excited how they've done. And we've gotten a lot of feedback from people that have used these simple books that have these simple concepts in them to employ in their own marriages. And it's really great to hear from people, and the response that we've gotten for that. So if you want to check that out, you can go to faithfulman.com /shop. And those books are there. I think they're 23% off if you get both of them. So anyway, you might want to check that out. But anyway, great discussion.
It's been great just talking about this and taking something that can be overwhelming and putting into little small pieces, little small steps that we can take to build a better friendship.
That's right. That canyon, not very far apart. And so God bless you as you seek to walk with him and closely with each other.